Hello and welcome to Health Talks, where the only side effect of listening is better health. I am Dr. Scott Garber, and today with me is a very, very special guest, Bernie Fallon. Hi, Bernie. Welcome.
Hi, Scott. It's great to be here.
Yeah, Bernie, you know, you're the first non-chiropractor that's ever been on the show with me.
I'm honored.
And I'm honored as well. And I really wanted to have you on because you've inspired me. I've seen you around the area. We've had great conversations. You've always been so upbeat and positive, and you've made a whole life out of this whole positive self-development and self-growth. Mm-hmm. In fact, you wrote a book called Goodology, Personal Development Through Good. So I'd love to really have the audience understand who you are. So let's talk about Bernie. Where'd you grow up? What are you about?
I'm a West Stockbridge guy. I was born and raised in West Stockbridge and born in Pittsfield, actually. Went to Monument Mountain, the local schools, and BCC, local college. I went to Siena College and basically stayed in the Berkshires most of my life.
Uh-huh. And you ran a store down in West Stockbridge, which is where we originally met.
That's right,
I
yeah.
had been into your store and we spoke. And at that point, you were just really wanting to get out of the store and get on with the next part of your life.
Yeah, I had a great experience at the store, at the public market in West Stockbridge, and it was a transforming experience. We turned that store around, and it was great, so I sold it. But all that time I had been working on something. I'd been studying something, and I call it personal growth through good. I've had this word Goodology for a long time, and I really wanted to study good. And there's all different kinds of personal growth out there. And, you know, I had to try them all and read all these books and see if they worked on me. And if they did, great. If they didn't, great. So what I did is I really listened to my body and listened to the messages that I was getting. And after I sold the store, I went to Arizona, started writing, and within 7 months, I had the book done, published, and so it was like a child ready to come out.
Right. And I know along the way, you know, you sent me drafts, you know, and you know, as you were developing this, and what I really find amazing, and really why I brought you on the show, is that, you know, we have a lot of people out there that don't have a direction, have a lot of negativity in their lives, a little lost, off the beaten path, and probably some of them are sitting home watching us on TV now. And you've been able to take this passion of yours, something that really moved you, towards creating a book. I mean, this is a high honor to create a book that's actually being sold.
Thank you. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
And to put your heart and your soul. How did Goodology come about? How did you create this? What is the book about?
Well, simply, I'll answer that with 3 points.
Sure.
The first thing is, as you would understand, the word Goodology is all good. You know, kindness, compassion, love, respect for people, peace. All of the stuff that is good is what Goodology is. Makes sense. But the critical distinction is that we'll say that all of the energy in the world is good. Any perceived negative comes from a resistance to that good energy. So, you know, we can live in all good, but until we locate the resistant energy inside, and you might feel it as like a sludgy type of energy, and where the labels might be frustration, anger, blame, guilt, doubt, denial, and anger or blame is not out here. It's not in here, it's in here.
Right.
And so when we really locate that negative, sludgy energy inside, that is when we begin to be empowered. So that's the second point. The first part is that it's all good. The second is that we have sludgy, stale, slowly moving energy inside, and you know, people feel it, and then it manifests as something like denial, regret, blame, anger. And so when we locate that and we do some exercises to get it moving, that leads to the third part, is that I consider Goodology as an exercise. So we exercise our bodies. So we might lift weights, we might go running. We exercise our mind. We read, we have discussion, we have debates and conversations. But Goodology is an exercise of your energy flow.
Right.
And when you get your energy flowing through simple things like happiness, smiling, respecting people, kindness, you become more empowered. You're recapturing energy that's like compressed inside.
Sure.
Sometimes I think about like a piece of plywood down over the grass, sitting on the grass. So how can the things that are underneath it grow? We have so much compressed energy. If you lift that plywood up, the grass grows. If there's a tomato seed, a tomato will grow. Flowers, a rose, a tree will grow. So if you allow, then your growth will happen.
So we all have that potential over there. We just need to remove the interference that's blocking that energy from going.
Similar to chiropractic, right?
Yeah, and what I really love about it is that, you know, and what I heard you say, Bernie, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that inherently we all have good inside of us.
Yes.
And it's manifesting sometimes in some type of maybe issue that we've had in our life that's unresolved, that stays in there as a resentment or something that's not so negative.
That's right.
And that's what really stops the growth. And we have the potential, and you use some of these exercises to go in to rebuild that and reframe that into a positive outcome. So people that are sitting out there that might be depressed or angry or watching the show, that they're really that close from being able to empower themselves and turn their lives around. And that's really why you wrote the book. Is that what I hear you saying?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
To empower people. There's so many things going on in our lives right now where we're distracted. And, you know, for example, you know, you turn on the TV. And the other night I turned the TV on, and the first thing that I saw was a bloody knife. Then they changed the channel. The next thing I saw was a gun. The next channel, honestly, had the first word was murder.
Right.
And then you go up the dial, and the news stations are arguing one party versus the other. They have the same amount of anger, just different labels.
Right.
So in our world, we need to really take a break from that.
Yeah.
And just feel our energy. And when we do that, when we connect with our energy, so if you feel angry or frustrated, like if you, for example, you turn on the TV and watch the news stations, you are going to get frustrated. So it's better to turn it off and feel your energy. And if you are frustrated, you have to be honest with it.
Right.
Admit that it's there, feel it, let it rise. Because if you notice, like for example, nervousness kind of has a negative connotation. Excitement has a positive connotation. But they're really just about the same energy, you know? So when you feel it, even anger, which has a real negative connotation, is compressed energy, you know, that you're reacting off of. If you're angry and if you really feel that rise, you are recapturing power that's just been latent down there.
Right.
The more you do that and the more you turn that into loving energy, the more powerful you'll be.
Right. And so, you know, on both sides of the spectrum, you know, we're either, you know, putting good energy into our tank or we're dispelling. So people pour into us, whether it's through the media, the social media, the TV, the things that we watch, negative things that happen at work. And that's energy that's really kind of sucked from us or compressed. And then, you know, positive things, you know, positive exercises, affirmations, meditations, that's like pouring into the tank, right?
Yeah.
So we have a tank that's either half empty or half full, and we can, just by reframing, what I hear you saying, reframing how we view this energy can move towards greater things as opposed to keeping ourselves in the doldrums. Is that correct?
What I wrote in the introduction of the book is what I think that we're doing, and this, you know, comes from really listening to my body. What I think that we do is we label our energy. We label how we feel, you know, so we have sludgy energy versus non-sludgy, you know, compressed energy versus non-compressed, vibrant and flowing energy. So if something, an opportunity comes up to do something, and we don't feel like it, we're not going to do it. But if we do have flowing and if we're energetic, then we will want to do it. We'll say yes. So what I liken it to, and I love this word, is the word current.
Current.
Now, yeah. A current, consistent in all currents, is movement and flow. So I think of like a stream flowing, or like electricity flowing, or blood flowing. If those flows stop, we have to take immediate action to fix it. Now, our energy is flowing, but it's compressed and hidden. We don't even notice it.
Right.
You know, and in chiropractic, you make adjustments to get that flowing.
Right.
And with this, we want to notice that negative energy so that we don't react by blaming someone or angry. We want to notice it and feel and get that current moving, like exercise you move, a mental exercise you move, and we want to do the same thing with our energy. Get that current flowing.
Totally got it.
Yeah.
Bernie, I wanted to ask you, so we understand what Goodology is. First, for, you know, the word ology is the study of, and so it's the study of good.
Yeah.
And, you know, one day you woke up and said, you know, I'm going to study good. Tell me how you came about. What was your impetus for writing the book?
Good question. It's been a long time in coming.
Okay.
I mean, a long time. It's about 20 years. And what happened was, I decided, you know, I'm in my mid-20s, and you say, what do you want to do with your life? I was in business by myself, and the answer kept coming up, I want to do good. It didn't matter how much money I made. I wanted to have a positive influence on people. So it comes from the time when I was like a teenager.
Right.
And as a teenager, I would want to do nice things for senior citizens, you know, because I didn't want them to, you know, look and be fearful of a punk kid like me. I wanted them to feel good. And the same thing with kids. I would coach baseball, and I want them to feel safe and have a positive environment to grow. And but adults who have gotten a bad lot in life, I didn't want them to feel bad. So that was really empowering. And you touched on before, you know, what someone can use to drive them. And for me, it was that desire to do good. But it doesn't mean that I didn't have the desire to do bad, because I did, through drinking and whatever, you know, that we do when we grow up. You know, it was all there. So luckily, you know, I didn't make the mistake of doing something that would land me in trouble, because then you're labeled as a troublemaker. So this desire to do good, you know, I stayed with that, and so that's where it came from. You know, and I studied personal growth and personal health through studying natural hygiene. I loved that. And then I studied environmental health. And I learned that people are driven by something deeper than changing their diet or having a healthy planet. We're driven by something inside.
That's right. And
it's really fearful, compressed energy that forces us to act right now and feed it.
And what I really love about you, Bernie, is you're a student of life.
Yeah.
I know that you've gone through different realms of developing Bernie, and that, you know, one of the ones where I really seen you start to shine and the excitement coming through is not on the ones where you were learning how to eat or exercise, but when you really started to delve into this personal growth and really take that to the next level of your life. And, you know, why I really wanted to have you on is because it's so important for the person out there struggling to kind of be able to tap into this mindset of what's really possible when we reframe the positive things in our lives. And I'm with you. I've had a lot of negative things happen in my life, but they also showed me the spectrum of what was possible.
Yeah.
You know, you can't have light until you've seen the darkness, and you can't have darkness until you've seen the light. And so it's really been great watching you on this path of Bernie self-development. My next question for you, Bernie, is why is Goodology? Why is this personal development? Why is it positivity? Why is the good and tapping into that? Why is that so critical at this point in time?
Well, there's a lot of reasons. We'll talk about the TV in a second, that example that I just used. But you know what's amazing right now is that our children are expected to have a shorter lifespan than their parents.
Wow.
It's unimaginable, with as smart as we are, the technology that we have, and the understanding of life that we have. So you would understand from that there are untruths that we're living with, because it should be the reverse. They should have a longer lifespan.
Right.
So that is, it's critical right now that we really understand how to control ourselves. The real growth is from here to here. You know, it's not out there. And what we're doing too much is we're feeding a negativity inside. So I talked about TV, and we can talk about bad influence out there all we want, but what's happening, and this is interesting, and I think there's no more critical distinction than what we're talking about today, but than this right here. What's on TV is an exact mirror of what's going on inside of us. You know, if we didn't have a demand for that, if we didn't like it, if it didn't stimulate us, we would not watch it. It would dissolve and vanish. And so by connecting with this positive energy flow, our confidence will build, and our desire for all of that stuff will wane and diminish.
Wow.
And the same thing with foods. If you notice that oftentimes we eat to feed a negative feeling inside. It calms our nerves.
Right.
And if we don't have that negative feeling, we won't have the desire for the drugs or the bad foods, the rich, heavy foods.
Right.
So that is the thing that's driving us, is right inside of us. And our world is an exact mirror. So if we get frustrated and angry at the hosts up the dial, you know, because they're yelling at this one or that one, we're not in a position to empower anyone. We're living at that same exact level. So what we have to do is go inside and live in love, kindness, compassion, care, respect.
Got it.
Yeah.
So what's happening inside of us is the impetus for the building blocks that we're creating in our outside world
Exactly,
to be
yeah.
able to validate our outside world. And so when we see, you know, ill health or negative feelings, we'll create that around us by creating gory TV or, you know, horrible news in our lives to really kind of affirm where we are. Is that what I hear you saying?
Yeah.
And then to add, Bernie, you made a very powerful point, is that, you know, our children today don't expect to live to the ages that their parents do. What's even worse than that is that they're expected to have less quality of life because of all the negative stuff that's out there, you know, the games that they play. I mean, when I was a kid, and I'm sure you as well, you know, we went out and played stickball and baseball, and there was bonding, and there was team spirit, and friendship and camaraderie, all positive things. Today, they sit in dark rooms and text and play Dragon Slayer and, you know, who could chop this guy's head off, you know, and the result is of that type of thinking that we've created in video games and TVs is the results of the murders that we're seeing in school.
Think about what you're saying, and think about energy flow. Think about how a kid's energy flow is, and so you can be flowing positive and loving, or you can be fearful and compressed. And so when you're exercising, when you're playing stickball or wiffle ball, which we did, and always playing football and always going out and doing something, you're moving, and that's the key word: movement and flow, energy flow. When you are sitting back inside in the dark, you're compressed. When you're playing a video game, you're getting used to feeding that uncomfortable energy inside. Now, children, I'm not an expert in this, and you know a lot more than I do, but children are getting medicated. And when someone takes a drug, it's a synthetic substance that's going to suppress that energy flow. So a pattern develops. So when, you know, but the pattern stays with you. So my patterns from for example, a car accident that I had was a terrible car accident, but that trauma kind of stays with me. So I have to connect with that and get it flowing. But, you know, you can say that my dad said that I was this or that when I was 8 years old. That pattern is still with you. You get rid of the label and what your dad said and locate the pattern. And that's what's going to empower you. And so, you know, if kids are sitting around and doing nothing, that's the pattern that they're developing. We got to get them out of it.
Right. You know, it's interesting and that you brought up that topic, because I read in your book about your accident. In fact, I saw the pictures. And, Bernie, I never knew that. And you would look at that, and I think even in the ad I read, and I thought, oh, they got that wrong because he's alive. I think that they wrote that it was fatal or whatever it is, assuming that.
They had a priest there, you know, so it was. Well, this is the great thing about modern medical care, is just for these types of instances, incredible. It was. I had so many injuries. I had 3 surgeons working on me simultaneously. And a year later, it was in the BMC annual report. And so one on my leg, one in here, and one on my face, and I was out in a coma for 7 days. So, you know, and coming back it was a lot to overcome. I was in the hospital for 6 weeks and a year, pretty much out of commission.
Right. But, you know, and then I went on to read that you've met all the markers of being able to walk, you know, before they thought you would. And that with all that trauma, again, you took that, and it lives inside. Trauma's trauma.
Right.
But you've been able to take that and really turn your life around.
Right.
Where some people look like you used before, you know, dad beat me type of thing. And they're traumatized for the rest of their lives, and it stops them from being positive and active in their lives. And so you've created this book with exercises and different things to really help somebody to break free of that pattern of compressed energy and move them along. I want you to share some of the stuff that's in here in terms of when we do these shows, we like to give our public strategies, whether it be affirmation, meditation. Want you to pick a couple and just give things that people could do at home. Now, mind you, some of them are home, maybe disabled, maybe don't have a lot of money or resources to be able to go out and buy newfangled things. So I'd like to use some of them that somebody can actually just jump in today and say, you know what, I saw Bernie Fallon talking about Goodology, I want to change my life, and boom, this is what I'm going to just do today. What would one of it be? How do they get started, and what benefits to look for?
Okay, there's a lot in the book, but just to give you an idea, we want energy flow. We want to locate where the energy is not flowing, and one of the things that I love to do is, especially when I was in business and working a lot of hours, 12, 14 hours a day, you can get frustrated. So I might pick someone who was kind of annoying or someone who I disliked. And what I would do at night is I would think about them, and I would think about the energy inside and send positive love to them continuously. Now, we talked about energy flow. That's what our goal is. Energy flow is power. In our lives, most of our life is stimulus response, feeding, the hurt inside. We want to reverse it. Send love out. Be positive. And I'm talking to, I don't know how much time we have, but I'm talking to a group of kids later today. They're mentors to 7th and 8th graders for the 5th graders. And so they're guiding them, they're helping. But the key that they said is, yes, I can. Yeah. And that phrase, if you say I can, not I can anything, just I can, is empowering. So send love, treat people with respect, kindness. When you do that, your energy is flowing positively. Right. And that's what we're looking for.
Bernie, funny but true, this week, it's Thanksgiving week, and so we're filming this right after, a couple of days after Thanksgiving. And, I went back into practice yesterday after the 4-day weekend, and it was natural to say, hey, how was your Thanksgiving? And it was really very interesting that, I had clients that couldn't be in the same room because they weren't talking to a sibling. The husband wasn't talking to the mother.
Ah, that's funny.
And you think about their whole holiday was framed around negative things that are going on. And what I hear you saying, and it's funny, but ironic, and such a great way to break through what that person happens to be trapped in, is say, you know what, I'm not talking to my brother-in-law, but let me send him a lot of love, good thoughts, good wishes. And that frees you. Is that what I hear you saying?
That's a great example, family, and it really, really works. When you do that, you become more. You're using more of yourself. Your current is flowing. Right. So you become an attraction magnet. So that means when your energy is flowing, you've heard of the law of attraction. Now, the law of attraction is a solid law, but if your energy is all negative, you're only going to attract this much. But if you allow your energy to flow and then think of some things that you want, I'm telling you, it comes to you. And I've had I've had great results with that. Right. Picturing things and manifesting.
Yeah, it's pretty admirable to watch you. Like, I've watched some of the things that you've been doing, and, talks in schools and doing this mentoring program, and, all the different things that you've doing, which has created a very rich life for you. Not to say that you weren't successful in the market. I remember you being there, and profitability-wise you were, but you're now out creating positive things in your life, and it's feeding you to the point that when I see Bernie, I see a lot of excitement, I see a lot of enthusiasm, and that's what I would really love to have for a viewing public out there. So you know what? Yes, maybe I've had a lot of negativity behind me, and it still resides in there, but I'd really like to move it forward.
Right.
That's a great example, family, because if you really ever think that you've hit super consciousness, go back home for a weekend, right?
I think that too. When I visited my father last winter, yeah,
Right.
yeah. So we are where we are. We've got negativity, and just I can get frustrated just as easy as someone else, but it happens a lot less right now.
Right.
And continually it'll happen less.
And Bernie, one of the things that you alluded to is it's a practice, and that's
Yes,
why you put
exactly.
in the book
It's an
different
exercise, yeah.
practices for people to practice. It's like an exercise, if you would. We're never going to change the external world. We would agree.
Right.
The stresses are going to be there: finances, money, certainly family, relationships, children. The only thing that we're capable of changing is our perception of those things.
Right.
So it really comes back to us, and that's the level that you've taken it to, hence the word personal development.
Yeah.
Because it's not about developing mom, it's not about developing dad, it's not about developing a business, it's about developing the person, and then your life becomes a reflection of that. Is that right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Bernie, we have about 2 minutes left.
Okay.
And what I would really love for you to do is at this point share with the audience, because I think it's a great book. We'll be fair and say I haven't read the whole thing through. I've read parts of the transcript.
Okay.
But why would it really behoove somebody to stop, read this book, and take advantage of doing this today?
You'll be happier. When I have a section in there called The Beauty of Problems. When you really, correctly identify a problem and resolve it correctly, the only thing left is love and kindness and compassion. That is what we're made up of. Something synergistic, where you take two things and put them together, and the result is more synergy. And but that is what this is all about: is taking things that are truthful, like kindness, compassion,
Right.
and acting like that, and that's who we are. Thus, we flow and exude that enthusiasm that you were talking about.
Bernie Fallon, you wrote an incredible book, Goodology, Personal Development Through Good. If a viewing audience is interested, they can actually contact me, and I'd be happy enough to put them in contact with you to be able to get this book. I think it's a gem for anybody's library. It's been an extreme pleasure having you here today.
Sounds great. Thank you very much.
And I've enjoyed our time. Thanks again.
Appreciate it.